everybody! Today I am here with Briannah from the channel Briannah Jewel. I love her channel. If you watch me, you've probably seen some of her stuff because she does lots of anti-MLM videos, talks about, I think some of your most popular videos are like personal trainer debunks Beachbody workouts and things like that, which I love. I love seeing people who are an expert in a certain field debunking what some of these really shady companies are trying to do.
Oh, I don't consider myself an expert, but thank you.
Okay, well, it's just someone who has a lot of specialized knowledge. I think that's very cool that you're doing that. So we have a lot of things in common, which is why we're doing a collab. We're both very into fitness and working out and things like that. We both have had plastic surgery, which is going to be the video that's on Briannah's channel. So after you watch this video, I will link her video below. Make sure to watch that, where we're going to talk about how we've both had plastic surgery and what some of the misconceptions are about it and all the takeaways we've had from that. But another thing that we have in common is that both of us are never intending to give birth, to become pregnant. That is another thing that we both have in common, and we wanted to talk about that as well because
the world is run by the man.
There's a lot of misconceptions out there about that, and there's a lot of expectations for women to get pregnant and birth children and things like that, but that's not how we're planning to do it. So yeah. Before we continue with today's video topic, first we have a word from our sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by my favorite cereal brand, Magic Spoon. If you've been watching this channel for a while, and especially if you've been following my fitness journey over on Instagram, you know how much I love high-protein foods, especially high-protein versions of foods that I already love. I've always been a big fan of cereal, especially because it's so easy. You guys know that I don't have much time to cook, especially when I'm busy running this channel, writing books, running a business, and being an overall #girl boss. So I love meals that are easy to put together, and cereal has always been a go-to meal for me for breakfast or lunch because of that. A 1-cup serving of Magic Spoon cereal has exactly what I'm looking for in a breakfast: 13 to 14 grams of protein and no added sugar. The cereals are also friendly for a couple types of dietary restrictions. They're gluten-free, grain-free, keto-friendly with 4 to 5 net grams of carbs per serving, and they contain no artificial colors or sweeteners. And not only that, these cereals are also super fun. I love using my shiny spoon and my colorful bowl to eat a variety of different flavors of cereal. My favorite flavors are cinnamon roll, sugar cookie, and the fruity flavor. Those taste a lot like some of the cereals that I used to love to eat as a kid, except that these have extra protein and don't have extra sugar. If you're interested in giving Magic Spoon cereal a try, click on the link in my description below, where you can build your own variety box of cereal, choosing from flavors like cinnamon roll, fruity, blueberry muffin, maple waffle, frosted, cocoa, and more. You can also try out Magic Spoon cereal bars, which come in flavors like cookies and cream and cocoa peanut butter, and add those to your box as well. If you're watching me on your TV right now and clicking a link would not be convenient for you, you can also scan the QR code that's on your screen right now, or after this video, you can head over to magicspoon.com/savvy, where you can save $5 on your order at checkout. Magic Spoon cereals ship throughout the US, the UK, and Canada, and they come with a 100% happiness guarantee, so if you're not satisfied with your purchase, you can get your money refunded, no questions asked. So don't forget to use my code SAVVY at checkout to get $5 off of your order. I hope you enjoy adding some tasty, high-protein cereal to your life. Thank you so much again to Magic Spoon for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to our topic. There's Stormy. I love Stormy so much. Hi, puppy. We both are dog moms and stuff. Yeah.
I was talking to my friend yesterday, and she's a childhood friend. We've been friends for years. And she said, I told her that you and me were doing this today, and we're going to have a discussion about like child-free and things like that. And she said, are you guys going to talk about your journey to that? And I said, yeah, of course. What do you mean? And she said to me, well, I just remember at your wedding, however long ago that was, 8 years ago, I don't know. She said, I just remember at your wedding, you said you wanted 3 kids, and Ace, that's my husband, said he didn't want any. And now you're completely child-free, and I just think that's an interesting transition. And this is coming from my friend who she's kind of towing the line between, I guess she's what you would call a fence sitter, because she is deciding if she wants to be child-free. She told me she's leaning toward the child-free life because she's just like, I just can't stand, I don't know if I can tolerate the thought of being a mom to something. Mm-hmm. But she said, you guys should talk about like that journey, how to get there. And I was like, absolutely, yeah. So how about you start with that? Were you always child-free?
I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think, like, when you said the journey, I'm like, I don't even remember when I made this decision. Like, because when I was younger, I just think, because we all assume by default that we'll have kids because that's kind of the path that people say. They're like, okay, you graduate from school, you get a job, you get married, and you have kids. That's the path that everyone takes. Like, it was just so normalized that I just kind of assumed I would someday. And, like, I grew up kind of Catholic, like, not extremely Catholic, so at the time, I just took it for granted. Like, when I was a teenager, I took it for granted that, like, oh, if I ever get accidentally pregnant, I'll obviously keep the baby. I'll obviously do this, because that was just a given in my mind. And then as I got older and I went to college and things like that, I started to, like, realize, like, oh, I don't know if I want to have a kid. And, like, I didn't have any, like, legitimate pregnancy scares, but there would be times that, like, my period would be really late and I'd start really getting terrified and I'd be like, oh, maybe this is actually horrifying. And then I would just spend, like, you know, the more time I thought about it and just thought of my future and what I envisioned for myself, you know, I'm a boss babe. I love being a girl boss and working for myself and being my own boss and all of that. And I looked at, you know, my future and all of my career goals, like, all of my goals were mostly career related. Like, a lot of my goals were relating to things that I want to write, books that I want to create. I also, like, have a lot of goals regarding, like, whether I want to take certain story ideas and turn them into something in, like, making a short film or making a radio drama, or, like, I just have, like, a lot of ideas about, like, multimedia storytelling and things like that. And as everyone can probably tell, I'm extremely passionate about toys and about the toy world. And so, you know, I started a book and toy company and all of that. I just realized that these were the places where my passion was. And, you know, at this time, I was probably, like, I started thinking about, like, becoming an entrepreneur and that kind of thing when I was about 23, I want to say. And at the time, I just didn't see any future for having kids. And I don't even remember what the discussion was like. So Tyler and I got married when we were 25, and I proposed to him when we were 23, I want to say. And at the time, I don't remember what our discussion about having kids or not was like, but I think we just kind of went into this where I was like, I don't feel the need to have any kids in the near future. And he was like, yeah, me either. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. So we didn't have any specific plan either way. And then within a couple years, I would be like, hey, I think that I'm probably never going to want to have kids. I don't think the thought of pregnancy, the more I thought of it, the more I was starting to just get really fearful of pregnancy. And the thought of having a human inside of me was really terrifying me. And I started, you know, I had some friends that had gotten pregnant and things like that. And, you know, obviously I'm supportive of them because if they're happy, I want them to be happy and to make their own choices and to do what they want to do with their life. But I just really couldn't relate to the desire to want that. And yeah, just having friends talking about, like, how they were starting to feel like a physical draw towards wanting that and things like that. I just didn't feel it. I never felt it. And I was like, this kind of scares me. Like, the physical process makes me scared and nauseous, and I don't think this is something I want. So I've always been very diligent with birth control. Funny, ironic story. The first birth control pill I ever took was on Mother's Day. That was when I was a senior in high school. But but still, like, I've always been very careful about that because I don't want to ever have any kind of accidental pregnancy happen. Yeah. That's kind of always been one of my biggest fears. So, and the thing is, I really like kids. I think kids are great. I used to be a creative writing teacher, and I love teaching kids. I love helping kids get creative and, like, thinking about those kind of things. I love those things, but I've spent an hour teaching a first grade reading and writing class, and I wanted to collapse and fall asleep the second those kids left the room. So I can't imagine being responsible for another human's entire life, just the raising the kid. I also had this one moment of realization. I was with my husband's, one of his cousins, and she had a child. And I guess her daughter was in Girl Scouts or something. And she was like, oh, Savvy, if you ever have kids, don't ever sign up to be the Girl Scout cookie mom because there's so much work. And I don't know what it was about that like gave me this realization that I'm like, if I had kids, they would have all these interests, and I would want to be a supportive parent, and I would have all of these other hobbies and activities in my life, because not only would I be doing all of my things, I would also be supporting all of their things. Yeah. And I would probably, like, you know, parents are expected, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, like, it's good to be an involved parent, but I'm just like, I don't think I could, like, I don't think I could take that much mental load on. It just, like, really hit me for some reason, and I'm like, I don't think I would be a good mom. So since then, like, I've gotten an IUD, which has been both good and bad. It's good because I've never gotten pregnant. It's also good because I used to have terrible eczema breakouts that would, like, mess up my skin, and they're just gone now. It's also, like, it really hurts getting it put in, and I used to have really bad period cramps from it, but I'm very grateful for that. I think that, I don't know if I'll ever get fully sterilized, but I might at some point, just because I really want to be as safe as possible, because no, I don't have any plans. The thought of giving birth terrifies me way too much, and at this point I'm 30, so I think that, I don't know, maybe it's possible when I'm 35 I'll change my mind or something, but I highly doubt it.
Yeah. See, I don't see myself changing my mind. Like, I consider myself child-free, like, forever. And also, my husband has a vasectomy.
Snap, snap, snap.
So we're not having kids for the foreseeable ever. So I guess I can talk about, like, my journey.
Yeah, that'd be, because you said you originally thought you wanted to have 3 kids, and now you know you want to have no kids. So how did you make that shift?
Crazy. Yeah, I used to want kids. I used to want 3 kids. I even named them. I think I still know all their names, too.
I think I did that kind of thing too. Like, when I was in high school, I was like, I think I'll probably have 3 kids. I might name one this. I like had ideas in my head, and I'm like, but I don't actually want to raise the kids. Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
I don't want to be a parent to it, though.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I used to want kids, but I, now that I am older and, like, have lived some life, and now that I really think about it, I think I only wanted kids because of like you, like, it's just kind of the societal norm. I don't think I ever really wanted kids because I wanted to be a parent. I think I just wanted kids because I just expected it to happen. I just expected that I would become a mom at some point, because that's just what you're supposed to do. You get married and then you have kids, and then, like, that's just what happens. That's what you're supposed to do, right? I think I just kind of expected it to happen. And then I got married when we were 22, and I wanted 3 kids, and I was going to have 3 kids. And what's interesting is my husband, I think he's been child-free since the day he was born. He never wanted kids. And I don't know, I said to him the other night, like, I told him you and me were going to do this. I said, I don't know how our relationship would have turned out, like, if I still wanted kids, but he didn't want kids. I don't see that, because that's a deal breaker. I feel like, I
think, like, because when it comes to relationships, I see very few things as a deal breaker. I'm very, like, open in terms of like, relationships. You can be separate people, do whatever, but when it comes to whether you're having kids, I think that's one of the few things that, like, you really can't compromise on, because if one person has no intention of raising any kids and the other one does, then there's no compromise there. Like, that one person is gonna get fucked over either way. So yeah.
That's not something, and I stand firm in this, that's something that you should never compromise on. I don't care how much you love your significant other. If you do not want children and they do, I think it's a terrible, it never ends well when they convince you to have a baby when you really don't want one. It never ever ends well. And so, yeah, I don't know where our relationship, I mean, I don't know that we would still be together if I never decided that I didn't want children. It's funny, Ace has been child-free since the day he was born. And I think his knowing he never wanted kids actually came from him. He's the oldest of, like, 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so many.
And what's crazy about it, okay, so we're both 30. He'll be 31 next month. Oh my God, his birthday's in exactly 1 month.
Oh my God, we're all like the same age. Because we are 30 and Tyler's 30. We're all 30. Okay.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. So Ace's youngest sibling, I think, is like, let's say she's maybe somewhere between 8 and 10. I don't know for sure because it's like another.
So she's like 20 years younger than him.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
His parents are like divorced, and I remember we were seniors in high school. His mom was pregnant with another one of his siblings, and then like divorce, and then remarriage, and then he had another baby. Yeah, so he's the oldest of 7 children, and him being child-free stems from, he's like, I've been forced to be a parent my whole life. And I feel like because this is not uncommon when it's older kids and they have a lot of smaller siblings. The responsibility of caring for the young kids is very often unfairly, in my opinion, put on them.
Yeah.
And he experienced that a lot. And he's like, I've been a parent already. I don't want to do it. Like, I've seen it. I've done it before. I've been a parent to my siblings. I've helped raise a lot of my siblings. I don't want to do it. So he's been child free forever, basically. And I feel like it was very gradual for me. It went from, yes, I definitely want children. And then I was like, for a couple of years, I was like, well, you know, if I get pregnant, I was a fence sitter. I said, well, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And then this was the real turning point for me. Working at a school.
Yes. Okay. We both worked at a school and learned that we cannot do this all day.
Yeah. And it was working at a school, working with children that really solidified my choice. And I was just like, yeah, I don't think I want to do this. This is like, being a parent looks kind of shitty. Like, you guys don't look like you're having a good time all the time. So it's funny because when I started that job, I was, like I said, a fence sitter. I was like, if it happens, it happens. Sure, I'll be happy, whatever. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But then after that job, I think I was at that job for 2.5 years. That's when I worked in school healthcare. I was like adamant, like, you know what? I don't want kids. I'm child free. I'm done. I don't want children. That's it. And my husband was like, good. You finally come over to the dark side.
No, that's perfect. I'm so glad. That kind of worked out for us too, because so I've known Tyler since 2004. We were 11 when we first met.
Oh, man. We were like 11 or 12.
We met in like 6th grade homeroom. We've known each other since middle school. We've been friends. We were friends as kids first. And then our relationship was on and off for like 10 years. So we dated in high school the first time, and then we got back together permanently, like right as we were about to graduate college. That's when we like got back together and stayed in a relationship and then ended up getting married. But when we were in high school, like I would talk about like, oh yeah, we'll probably have kids one day in the future if we stay together, like things like that. It just seemed like a given to me because and then I think it was when we got back together, when we were talking about like getting back together in a relationship and like if we were because we were considering like moving in together, if we were going to stay together permanently, I think about that time we were both kind of like, I don't really think I want kids. And I was glad that we were both there because like previously, like we were in high school, I don't think he had an opinion either way yet. I think he was like, well, that's far off in the future.
Yeah.
And I would freak out because I'm like, what if I get pregnant? And we were like, I'm glad I didn't, because at the time I probably would have gone through with the pregnancy.
Yeah.
And I'm just so grateful that never happened because that's the thing. A lot of people talk about what if you regret not having kids, but they don't talk about what if you regret having kids.
And a lot of parents regret having kids.
I think that's what would have happened because like you'll see like a woman who's like 25 years old wants to go to the gynecologist and get a procedure to get sterilized. And a lot of times they'll say, no, you're too young. What if you change your mind? But if you're a 17-year-old girl and you get pregnant by accident and you want to give birth, nobody's going to say, what if you change your mind?
Yeah.
And so, but that's the thing is like, I'm looking back and I'm like, if I had gotten pregnant as a 17-year-old girl, I would have given birth. I would have gone through with it. Yeah. And I would now be 30 with a 13-year-old not wanting to be a parent, having not wanted to be a parent for like 10 years. Yeah. So that would be bad. That would be so bad. Like I think it's way worse to regret having kids than to regret not having kids because then there's a whole other person in the situation too.
I say that constantly.
And then people on Twitter will be like, wow, that's spoken like someone who's never gone through the trauma of infertility or the trauma of losing a child. I'm like, you're right, I've never gone through that. But also it's still true that you don't want to regret having a kid. And it is a possibility. Like, it's not a super common thing, but it is a thing that does happen. There are parents who do regret having kids. There have been studies done on it. Some people put it up to like as high as potentially 7% of people. But, you know, studies aren't universally replicated. So I'm not going to say definitively how many it is. But there are people that do. It does exist.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think controversial word. This whole conversation is controversial. Fuck it. I think more parents regret having kids, but they don't say it out loud because there's a negative stigma associated with like being unhappy being a parent. Have you ever heard of the Facebook page, I Regret Having Children?
No, it sounds really sad though. I don't think I want to go there.
It's very sad. It's a public page. I'll send you the link. It's public. All the posts are posted anonymously, and there are some of all the stories on that page are just, it's so sad about people who, like parents who regret having children, and they just tell the saddest stories. And I don't think a lot of people realize that not having children is an option. I think a lot of people don't know that that's a choice. like kind of like you and me were kind of like that when we were younger. Like I just assumed that it would happen. I just assumed that I would eventually become a mom because I didn't know that I didn't have to do that. I didn't know that I had a choice. And like somewhere along the way, you know, within the last 5 years, I realized, oh wait, I actually do have a choice. This isn't The Handmaid's Tale. I'm allowed to not be a mom.
Right. Well, that's the thing is I think a lot of people treat having kids as the default when in reality not having kids is the default because we all come into this world without being a parent already. Yeah. And when you decide to have kids, that is an active choice you're making, and I think it's important to make that choice actively. I just want to be clear, like I have a lot of respect for moms. I think moms are awesome. A lot of my friends are moms, and I love when I have friends who have kids because I love kids. I think they're so funny. I think they're so cute. I just want to be everyone's like wine aunt. That's my goal, is to be the wine aunt to everyone.
I want to be the cool, fun aunt for sure, yeah.
Same. That's my goal. And I mean, my brother isn't planning to have kids either. I won't like have nieces and nephews there, but like I have a lot of friends who have kids, and I will consider that, like one of my best friends is getting married soon, and she and her wife are planning to adopt kids. And so I'm like, okay, well I can be like Aunt Savvy to them, and they're excited for that because my friend is an only child, so she doesn't have any siblings anyway. So it's like, it works. Like that's the kind of role I like to take. And I've noticed that a lot of people who don't have kids usually still do inspire and help the next generation in other ways. Like a lot of people I know who don't have kids become teachers, or they work in child education or higher education or something, so they still end up having an impact on the next generation of the world and helping younger people follow their dreams. But that doesn't mean, I don't think you have to be the one to give birth to the kid in order to have a positive impact on a kid's life. So I think there's definitely like, I think there's a middle ground, which is one reason, like, I kind of left the child-free subreddit. I don't really like it there because there's some people there who are really nice, and I think there's a lot of people there who have dealt with a lot of trauma related to people in their life really trying to pressure them to have kids, or partners, like, kind of changing their mind on them, or tricking them, or things like that. Like, I get that. But there's also a lot of people there who really just don't like kids, and I think there can be kind of mean to kids as a concept, and I'm like, kids are just a demographic of people. They're human beings, and they're learning about the world. I think kids can be wonderful, but I think there's a difference between hating kids and just not wanting kids. I think I love kids, I don't want to have any. I think there's a difference.
That's a misconception too that a lot of people have. They think that everyone who's child-free just can't stand kids. Now, unlike you, do I love kids? No. I think love is a strong word for me. Do I love kids? No. When people ask me, do you like kids? I say, yes, I like kids in small, controlled doses.
Yes, I think that's fair. Yeah.
But do I love kids? No. I don't want a job, again, around kids. Now, my husband hates kids, and that's saying a lot because, again, he's the oldest of 7, so he still has kids in his family. But, like, he he'll tolerate kids. He'll be around them. But, like, he really can't stand kids. And I'm like, that's perfectly fine. We don't have kids in our house. But our closest friends here where we live actually have 2 kids. They have 2 boys. And he's totally like the fun uncle, playing with them, throwing them around and stuff like that. They have a great time. But he doesn't like kids, like, at all. He doesn't even like hearing kids screeching. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I respect that. I don't love kids, but I like them sometimes. That's I used to really enjoy being a teacher. I really liked that. One thing I liked was when I taught creative writing, it's not like I got a grade level. I got to teach all different grade levels. So like when I would be teaching like 2nd graders, I would get really exhausted. When I'd be teaching, someone who like kids who were in like 8th grade or something, I liked that a lot better because they know better how to stay seated and things like it's not as much like physical running around after people. But I really enjoyed always like seeing what kind of things kids wrote. I loved seeing how they could use their creativity to develop stories, or like how they could use their imagination and develop a love of writing and literature and things like that. That stuff was very fulfilling to me. I loved that. Yeah. But I had no desire to be the one who was also like, okay, I'm your mom and I gotta take you to school and I gotta take you to the doctor, and if you get sick, I have to clean up your vomit. And like, I already had to do that with my dog. I barely, I couldn't imagine that in my life. And I guess this is another common question that a lot of people ask is like,
if you change your mind and regret it later, what will you do? So this is a question that I've been asked, and I know that there's, I mean, the obvious answer of it's better to regret not having kids than to regret having them, but there's still the idea of like, okay, well, what if you do regret it? Or like you want to get a surgery done to make sure you can never have kids, and then the doctor will say, well, we don't want you to regret this down the line. When someone asks you, because I know how I respond to that, how do you respond to that?
What if I regret not having kids?
Yeah, like if someone asks you that, like, what do you usually say?
Oh, then I'll adopt. Then I'll foster.
That's what I say too. Okay. That's what I also say. I say if later I change my mind and I'm past the age where I can have kids anymore, or if I have gotten a surgery that I can't have, that, like, if that happens, I will adopt. And I like to emotionally manipulate people a little bit when they do this, because people will be like, you know, what if you feel a strong desire for biological children? And then I bring up the fact that my dad adopted me, and I'll be like, are you saying that adopted kids aren't as legitimate because I was adopted? And then if I do that, then people have no choice but to feel bad. So
Yeah.
that's what I usually do.
It's messed up that you have to do that, though. That you have to make people feel bad and like make them uncomfortable to like, make the decision. Because I agree with that. Like, are you saying that adopted children are less than? Like, I don't agree with that either. I have, my cousin is adopted, and like her parents are her parents. I don't think adopted children, and whenever people who are adopted hear and see things like that online, I'm sure it's very hurtful to them. You know, adoptive parents save lives. Like, they save children from shitty situations. So I think it's one of the most selfless things somebody can do. So yeah,
I think there's also a really good discussion going on about adoption where people bring up that, you know, there are some parents who adopt for the wrong reasons out there. Like, you see like a lot of like influencer parents who adopt and like use their adopted kids in their vlogs and things like that. Like, can't stand that. I hate that. I don't hate anything more than that. Like, that is the worst. So I think it's good. I think that there's a lot of checkpoints around being able to adopt and making sure that you're doing this because you truly believe you can give the kid the best life possible, and that you're not just doing it for yourself and things like that. But at the end of the day, I think that when done correctly and in a situation with the child's best interest at the forefront, I think adoption can be a wonderful thing.
And it always should be. I mean, that should be at the forefront. It should be no other reason other than to save a child, you know, for the child's best interest. I don't know why more people act like that's not an option, though. Like when people say to a child-free person, what if you regret having kids? Then I'll adopt. Like, people act like only birthing biological children, like people act like that's the only option, and I don't understand it. I think part of it is society too, where you just like are supposed to get married and get pregnant and have a bunch of babies.
Right. That's how I see it, because I'm like, I feel pretty confident that I'm never going to want to have kids at all. I feel very confident about that, but I'm also not psychic. I can't say for sure that 20 years from now I'm going to feel the exact same way, because I can't predict anything that's going to happen. Who knows, the world might end by then. I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. I don't know, anything could happen. So if the possibility's there, that's the thing too, is like, if you don't have kids, that's not a permanent decision ever. Mm-hmm. Even if you like get a permanent procedure done, the adoption is still a thing that's available. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you choose to have kids, that's permanent. Another person is now in the world. That is a permanent thing that has happened.
Another person is in the world. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's not something you can't undo that. So, and I don't know why, I don't understand why more people like don't get that. Me and my husband have this discussion a lot. Okay, so I'm a military spouse. Ace is active duty Army, and I'm just gonna be up front. It's like, it's the norm for military couples, especially young military couples, to have a bunch of kids. We're always the minorities. Like when we go to gatherings of like military, you know, families, we're always the minority because we don't have children, and that's fine. I'm not made uncomfortable by it, and I don't mind whenever people ask me about it either, but you can't undo kids. So Ace was at work one time, and like I think I was coming to have lunch with him or something like that, and he comes outside to greet me before we go inside. He was like, hey, just so you know, I'm having the no babies discussion with somebody in here. Mm. It was one of his superiors. Like, they were just there, you know, checking something out. And then they kind of got into casual discussion. And then, you know, the topic of kids come up. And then my husband is adamantly child-free. And we both are, obviously. And then it's always like, well, why don't you want kids? Blah, blah, blah. So he kind of gave me that disclaimer before we go in, and we go in, and I don't mind having the discussion because I feel like it helps like spread awareness and help people understand, like, yes, you do have a choice. But I think this takes the cake as one of the dumbest things anyone has ever said to me in regard to being child free. It was his superior. I can't remember if it was like a first sergeant or something. I don't always know ranks, but he said to me, "Don't knock it until you try it." And
until you try it.
Yeah, and I gave him.
There's no try. There's no like 30-day free trial on the kid. You can't like return them.
Thank you. And I think that takes the cake as the dumbest comment that anyone has ever made to me about like my child-free status is don't knock it till you try it. And I just looked at him for a second and I was like, I'm sorry. It's not a DVD player though. You know, I can't just return it. So what if I have kids and then I don't like it? That's what I said to him. I said, so what if I have a baby and then I don't like being a parent? And then he didn't really have an answer.
Because I think people assume, everyone has this assumption that once you have kids, you will suddenly love having kids. Because that happens to some parents, and I guess like there's some kind of, I'm not a medical professional, but there's some like hormones, I guess, that body releases during pregnancy, or there's some types of things. I think that's even been found in fathers as well, that like when people have kids, they feel this like bond, but not everybody does. It happens to some people, but it doesn't happen to everybody. No. So I think a lot of people, they have a kid and then they're like, wow, I love this kid. I always knew I would love this kid, but I love them even more than I thought I would. This is even better. So they just kind of assume once you do it, you'll understand and you'll love it. But not everyone thinks the same. Not everyone has the same life goals or the same values or metrics of success. So it's important to remember that.
And why would you roll the dice? Why would you take that risk? Why would I risk bringing forth a whole human being into sentience, into existence, to roll the dice and see if I maybe will like it? Because
that's the thing too, is people often bring up like, but your goals are all about yourself, so you're a selfish person because your goals are all about, you know, having your career and having fulfillment and making money and like all these things. That's very selfish goals. Having children is less selfish. I'm like, okay, but if you're under the impression that I'm an inherently selfish person, do you want me raising children? Because like
that's a good point. Yeah.
Would I be that good of a mom if I'm always focused on myself? I don't know.
Right. And also, in terms, as far as the selfish argument goes, too, it doesn't make any sense when people say that someone who's child-free is selfish. The definition of being selfish, the root of being selfish, is taking something away from somebody else for your own personal gratification, for your own personal gain. There's no children that exist.
They don't exist yet. Yeah,
I'm not taking anything from anybody by not having children that don't exist. Stormy's asleep and she's like squeaking. Selfish is like parents who, like, maybe a mom gets child support from a baby daddy or something, and instead of using it for her child, she like goes and buys new shoes or something like that. Like, that's selfish. That's taking something away from a child. Yeah. So I don't understand the selfish argument for child-free people. That makes no sense. There's no one here for me to take anything from.
At the end of the day, I'm just really, like in the video we're going to put on your channel about the plastic surgery, I'm really in favor of everyone having their own autonomy and the ability to make their own choice about what they want. So at the end of the day, it's like, I have plenty of friends who have kids and who love having kids and who loved being pregnant, or who are excited to be pregnant again, or who are excited to have more kids, whatever. I'm happy for them. And I'm glad that they have the ability to have that choice and to make that choice for themselves and to live the life that they want. And then I will make the choice for myself and live the life that I want. And we can all just have the freedom to make our own choices and respect each other's choices and be there for each other. I know it sounds like very idealistic, but I don't think it has to be that hard.
I was gonna say, if only it were really like that. If only everybody just left people the hell alone for the choices that they want to make.
Everybody love everybody!
What's interesting, I don't know if this is your experience, you can tell me, but whenever I get negative comments or see negative comments online about people being child-free, the comments normally come from men. I almost never get like negative comments from other women. Like, I have plenty of mom friends. Like, my closest friend here, like I said, she's a mom of 2. They're totally respectful and supportive, but it usually seems like it's men that don't like that women don't want children. And they're only bothered by women who don't want children. They're not bothered by men that don't want children. They're only bothered when women don't want children.
You know, now I'm thinking, I don't know if I've noticed that or not. I'd have to go back and look. I do notice it's most often men that are trying to tell me how to do something in some way, or trying to tell me, like, you shouldn't support this. This isn't good for women or something. I'm like, okay, well, how do you know that better than me? Like, I know a lot of men who I think feel very protective of women in certain ways and really want to be able to, they have this, like, benevolent sexism outlook where they're like, no, the thing I'm saying is going to be better for you. I want things to be good for, it's like, no, I know what's good for me, okay? Like, so I do notice that as a trend overall.
Yeah.
I will say I'm very grateful that my mom mom is like, she's really into being a dog mom, even though she's also my mom. She's also a dog mom. She's really into the dog mom thing. So she's never put any pressure on me to give her grandkids or anything. Instead, she's just like very happy when I bring Chewy over, because she's like, oh, there's my grand dog, and she loves him as her grand dog so much that like
that's nice.
she'll like give him gifts for his birthday, and she will like. My mom last year gave me a gift on Mother's Day. I was like, why are you giving me a gift on Mother's Day? You're my mom. I gave her a gift on Mother's Day. I was like, you're my mom. I give you a gift. And she's like, yeah, but you're my grandson's mom. And I'm like, your grandson is a dog. And she's like, yeah, but I love him. I'm so glad he's here. So my mom gave me as a Mother's Day gift, she gave me this little pit bulls. So it's a little makeup bag with pit bulls on it. And I love it. It's like my favorite thing. So I'm like, well, that was very sweet of you.
I love it. Yeah, I can't relate to not being Badger to have to give grandkids.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Not that my parents are not supportive now. Like, my parents are awesome. Love them more than anything. They're great and they're supportive now. But I know that, like, in the back of their minds, they like hope that Ace is the 0.001% of men whose vasectomy fails.
Oh.
Yeah,
that's not good.
Which wouldn't be, actually, because I have birth control too. I have.
So you guys are being extra careful, which I think is great. Yeah, I think Tyler's considering getting a vasectomy in the future, so we might have protection on both sides soon too, which will be extra good, because it's like we really do not want that happening. So yeah, everyone out there, make sure you practice safe sex. It's important. Yeah, gotta be safe about it.
Yeah, especially, and it's like, if you don't want to be a parent, don't be a parent. Take steps to make sure that shit don't happen. Ace got a vasectomy. His vasectomy was on my birthday last year. So
that's so fun.
Yeah,
well, I love the photos you guys posted about his vasectomy. I thought it was so cute. Because you had like, it was like, you had the little baby ones. He was like, the baby coming never.
Yeah, we had a whole vasectomy. We had a whole not pregnancy announcement. Yeah. A lot of people ask the question, like, are you still on birth control? And I am on birth control. I have, like I said, I have a next one on. I actually just got it replaced. And really, I'm on birth control just for my hormones. I have really bad periods without birth control. Mm-hmm. So I am, but it's like more, it's for me, so I don't die every month on my period. And yeah, he also has a vasectomy. And yeah, my uterus is a vault, locked down. Nothing's ever getting in there.
Yep, I love that. Good for you, dude. Good for you. So everyone, definitely let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We appreciate listening to y'all being here to listen to this topic. Briannah, thank you so much for doing this collab with me. I'm glad, because we have all these like things in common. I'm glad we get to talk about them, in addition to like being pit bull moms and all of those kind of things. I love, I have gotten hate for being a pit bull mom when I've talked about this, and I've been like, I've said that, I'm like, I have one of those like pit bull mommy mugs. I'm really into the pit bull mommy thing. I love it. But then I get some people who, and I did a whole video debunking pit bull hate, but then there's some people who are like, no, pit bulls are dangerous. I'm like, no, they're not. Not if you train your dog and pay attention to them. Like, there's people out there who think that I'm not even going to train my dog, and then they expect that I could have a whole kid. Like, what do you think?
You can't even have a whole kid, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the same way. Yeah, no. Aren't you a little... Oh, she's asleep. Let me see if I can... She's so cute right now.
Is that Stormy?
Yeah, this is Stormy. My other ones are upstairs.
Chewy was napping. I don't know. He left and went to go nap somewhere else. Oh my god, I love her.
She's up for adoption, by the way.
Man, I really wish I could adopt her. I really do. She's so cute.
She's precious. But she's a little shit, but she's precious. But it's because she's young, so.
Yeah. Y'all make sure to check out the video on Brianna's channel as well, where we're going to be talking about our experiences having plastic surgery and the misconceptions that go along with that as well. So yeah, thanks so much for doing this collab with me.
Thank you so much for having me, Savvy. Always great. Also, I just have to mention really quick before we go, the irony of this conversation of being child-free while your name is Muscle Mommy.
That's true. I am Muscle Mommy. I am a pit bull mommy specifically, though.
I'm not like other moms. I'm a cool mom.
That's
I'm a dog
right.
Mom, right?
Exactly. I'm a dog mom.
I'm a cool mom.
Exactly. Yes.
Get you some nuts.
Yeah, you effing.
Up yours, woke moralist. We'll see who cancels who.